What's up, movie freaks from a galaxy far, far away where you Meathead Crew? I'm Dan, it's Mario, Sean, Josh. We went to see a cool little movie, independent thriller.
Yeah.
Goes by the name of Sing Along 3? No, we're fucking lying. The Last Jedi, we literally came fresh. Yeah, Blue Harvest. We came fresh. I live 3 blocks down from a theater. Came right here. We haven't even talked. We didn't even talk in the car.
You live 3 blocks down from theater and you can't update your freaking do your reviews.
All right. So we're gonna start with Josh. Give us 3 sentences, general feelings on The Last Jedi.
I can sum it up faster than that.
Yeah.
Fact.
Sims.
Loved it, man. I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
I applaud people making bold choices, not being afraid to actually, and this is Rian Johnson, a big step, and I like Force Awakens, big step as Rian Johnson as a director to, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to make my own choices with these characters. I'm at least going to point them somewhere. I'm not going to be, and people are either going to like them or hate them, but at least they're choices that matter. So that's we'll get into more detail after, but
General thoughts, exciting. Couple of things with the pace that I can we'll talk about later. But overall thoughts, it was Star Wars again, and I like being the second episode went much in the tone of Empire, went in a completely different direction than the first one.
Awesome, yeah, and we're gonna go full spoilers in this as well. So favorite thing in the movie.
My favorite thing in the movie, you know what? When Luke Skywalker kind of like walks out into the there's the horizon line of attacking ATs and the whole First Order army, and he just walks out, and it's just this epic moment. Yeah. I don't know. I was just like, oh, this is incredible. This is so cool. That was probably one of my favorite moments. There are a bunch of them that are like that. I guess that's my first choice, I suppose.
Cool. Big Sean?
Yeah.
The space battles were incredible, and it kind of reminded me of like the way they went out there with it. Star Wars Rebels, and I like how I like how they do the action in Star Wars Rebels, and it's awesome.
I'm torn between 2, but I'm going to make the selection of what I like better based on like what me as a kid would like. Expanding on Luke's force power to do like an to force project yourself into a physical form to where you have because he touched he formulated dice to be like, yeah, I'm really here, right? I'm physically here, and just know that he outsmarted Kylo Ren, who's all about rage, and the moment where you just realize, okay, it was a projection all along.
Yeah.
And he's because I thought it was going to fall into the here goes, he sacrifices himself. The Kylo Ren, eliminates him, takes him out, just like how Vader did for Obi-Wan. I'm like, oh, this, well, it kind of makes sense. I'll go out this way. I'm like,
I was so relieved when that
he's not there, and then to know that it just showed his skill. Yeah, we'll get into that too. It just showed a skill far beyond just brute strength in combat. It just showed force powers that I never even thought could be possible. That moment was my favorite. Yeah. Favorite moment?
Again, there's so many good moments in it. Definitely the horizon line that Josh was talking about when he came out and it's one man versus an army really got me. But yeah, the part that kind of got me nostalgically and got me, really, keen into it was Force Yoda. Yoda back.
I said the same thing to these guys.
Puppet Yoda, too. And it being Puppet Yoda, where it was just like, I'm like, oh my god, it's like...
I said the exact same thing.
Yoda is just he's such an icon, and it was just so, to have him back, and just to have, that little... It just brought me back to what... I can't remember the...
New Hope?
To Empire.
Empire. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it brought me back to Empire, where they were conversing, and just how even though that kind of conversation you have, where no matter how old you get, like your parents always know better than you, and then, I kind of got that vibe from them.
I literally leaned over to Sims and I'm like, when we start talking, I was like, I'm so nostalgic right now. That's exactly what I said. And you know what it is? It's because it's not like we see Yoda. Like the earlier iterations of Yoda, he's more focused, composed, and But here you see
for the prequel Yoda.
The prequel Yoda. But like here you see like he has these he's kind of gotten into a little bit of like looseness, almost like his like delightful befuddled madness in a way, like being alone on Dagobah.
He's playing with the lights.
Exactly. Like throwing things around. And it's like knocking Luke on the head. And it's just like you're right. That's what brought me back to the swamps of Dagobah and their conversation. That really was cool.
So
and the hump in the back and
all like not a serious Yoda. It's like I'm an old man.
I don't care.
Which and I noticed that difference too, and I enjoyed it a lot more because in prequel Yoda you had the dignitary, the UN ambassador, all the worry of what's happening. And in this one, in just the few short lines that he says, it's like we are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of a master. And I think as we get older and move on in our lives and everything else, and now you're a teacher. I just got married. You've been coaching for years. You're taking on more responsibility at work, and especially going through struggles that you've gone through, losing your mom and stuff like that. It's just to take people that were our teachers and that who we saw ourselves in Luke, and finally back to that student-teacher relationship, and having even better, probably the best life advice that he gave. What a fucking great writing, great moment, perfectly executed.
And just seeing like the people that you train, like now you're training, and it's like you see yourself in them so much, and it's like, oh man, it's like remember, like even Luke hating how how bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and like naive Rey was, but it's like that was you, that was you in a nutshell.
It's exactly like you were saying. It's like and Josh has been through this too. It's like when you've coached long enough that the kids you've coached become coaches themselves, and then you go watch one of their games or something like that, and it's like it's like you see so much in that, and it's like, and it just it's such a well of emotion that it brings to you.
As opposed to fancy guys in robes sitting in a circle talking politics. Right? Which with the prequels, too much of. Okay. It's not a perfect movie. I really enjoyed it, but it's definitely not perfect. Biggest negative, fresh out of the screening.
How do you do this?
Darth Vader was his father.
And Boba Fett was not Snoke. I lost the pool.
How do you do this? I invested 30 whatever years into this character. An icon of purity, of the Jedi way.
Admiral Akbar's gone. It was a trap.
It was a trap all along. It never stopped me. How do you kill Luke Skywalker? Come on! How do you kill Luke Skywalker? I'm dying. Come on! Like I said, I invested nostalgically into this. You killed my childhood. You can't. How is Princess Leia still alive? The character herself is not actually still with us, yet she's still there for the next film.
Rest in peace, Carrie.
Rest in peace. You've done an amazing job, but this is the film. It's just itself that I'm talking about. Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker. I'll be back. I'll be back. No, honestly,
this is the thing.
No, because Luke Skywalker is he puts everything together.
You know what this is? This is his Transformers, the animated movie. Optimus Prime died.
Yes.
And it's right now.
You know what I'm saying?
But this was kind of the Han Solo was closer to.
It was enough already when Han Solo died. He should have just. He didn't have to look. Even if
passing on the lightsaber to the next generation.
Even if Harrison Ford didn't want to do it anymore, they could have just flown him to the sunset and he never returns again. You don't have to kill him for me. You already killed Han Solo. I come into this movie. Luke Skywalker's introduced for like a minute at the end of the first one, and now I'm like, okay, we'll see Luke Skywalker. It ends up being a Force a Force apparition, which was amazing and saved me. I'm like, thank God he's not going to do the Obi-Wan sacrifice and just fall apart in like emptied robes and become incorporeal and unmanifest into the air and be one with the Force. I'm like, thank God, thank God. The sun comes out, guy smiles at the sun and vanishes.
Okay,
Yoda.
but this is
Yoda.
the thing. It's like I find you like one of the most logical. Even when like shit goes down and like, man, that's awful. This guy's like, well, you know, things happen, you know. Like
the
you didn't see this
dopamine in
coming.
your brain.
Like I don't understand how you didn't see this coming.
I was
like, and it's not
against
even
it.
like I don't even consider him dead. I think it's like you know
one
what
with the Force.
you know what Buddhists talk about. You know what Buddhists talk about. Like, listen, I need to reach this this level of enlightenment, and it's like I feel like he just became pure light, and he's not dead.
I understand.
So I don't
that.
understand.
I understand
He's
that all
different form.
none of the Jedis are technically dead. They're all in the.
It's a
ethereal
Hall of
force.
Fame.
They're
It's a
all
Hall
in
of
the.
Fame.
They're all in the ethereal force somewhere.
Yeah.
But he is not in the physical realm. He is not going to do battle with anyone. I'm not going to say see Luke Skywalker start up any other kind of Jedi Academy.
He didn't do battle in this one.
I know. It wasn't even
bad.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. It's like he's so powerful. So let's get back to this, like this image, this physical image. Not only did he like make this image like from hundreds of projections, like hundreds of thousands of light years away
across the galaxy,
but it was able to have a lightsaber battle with Kylo, because when they originally like they locked sword, so it's like, is that a new power? That's like a super shadow clone.
Yeah.
If anybody that watches Naruto, it's like it's like. Is that a new power?
Yeah, well,
is
even
in
in the books, like I mean, again, it's not canon anymore, but in the books, Force illusions and apparitions are possible, but it was never in those ones. It was never a physical manifestation. It was always a visual thing.
Yeah,
right?
Because he was able to touch
you're
Leia,
supposed to be tricking,
give her that dice from the.
You're tricking the mind,
which
right?
they already talked about.
Yeah.
Well, they originally showed with Kylo and Rey.
but you're not
because
supposed,
that was just visual.
You're not supposed to think. You're not supposed to think of it as like a hologram. It's really just he's in your head making you see. So that just means that Luke is
though?
No. That's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. So in this, it might be that Luke's just in his head with such strength that he's actually tricking his like any cells and receptions to feel physicality. To you know what I mean?
But
I thought he was going to say midichlorians.
No, midichlorians. I'd agree with that, but the difference is that others saw him.
Yeah.
True.
That's
true.
that's
true.
the only
That's
difference.
true.
And my question,
So it's got to be something else. Yeah.
and my question is, what does that say about Snoke? Is Snoke still alive? Because if Luke is able to do this, right, is not Snoke
Able to ascend to a Sith.
No,
well,
but
not
his
even to
his body
ascend
was
to a
lying
Sith.
there. His body was lying there.
But
too long.
he's
But-
never
but-
called a Sith though.
But
he's
like,
never
did
called
he
Sith.
cast that
Never
illusion?
called a Sith.
Yeah, but
Like,
his body
is
was his body was lying there, like it never disappeared.
But this is the thing. This is the thing.
You know, eventually you got to let go of the
Well,
whole.
one sec. I'm not. It's not hope, but it's like the whole time he was saying that Kylo Ren was way too weak. He even set up this plan knowing that Kylo was going to betray him.
Yeah.
Right. So the best thing to do if you want him to ascend to that next level is put him in a situation where he thinks he's in control, and then he makes that move, because it's like the rule of twos. And eventually, the apprentice is supposed to beat the master and become
Or
the master.
take on the master,
Yeah.
take on an apprentice,
Yeah.
or kill off the apprentice and get a new
And get a new
apprentice.
See, all that stuff, that's what this, I think Ryan Johnson and the folks at Lucasfilm, I think they actively went into this movie and made a decision to be like, fuck all that.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck it. It's not about bloodlines. I mean, all the bloodline stuff in Game of Thrones was great, and, you know, it's an ongoing plot thread, discovery, whatever. I think with this, they were like, you know, fuck all that stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck these antiquated rules. Forget about all these, you know, differences in canon, whatever. A kid from the dirt, the Force belongs to him. It doesn't belong to Jedi in robes of an academy, of a structure and big texts. It's, which is, you know, kind of like in our part of the world, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, what, you think just the blue bloods can, you know, start a great business? Can they be successful? And they're the only ones that can make it. They're the only, you know, only these guys can make it to the top. So like all this talk of these rules, that rules, I think killing Snoke in that moment was like, we're throwing all that. And Kylo Ren even says it too. He's like, you know, forget the past, let it die, kill it if you have to. So it's like, forget all that stuff. It doesn't. And Yoda was the same way. Yoda blew up the Force tree, thinking the books were in there. And
or did he know?
Oh, yeah, maybe he knew that they were
like
gone
it doesn't
already.
matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's like,
Even still, he said, "Look, it moves on." It's
Yeah, like
but like I think
wisdom's
that, like
already
that is
there,
a really
right?
good theory. I just yeah, I think that they would have that they would have dismissed it. Yeah, but it's weird because it is also not just anticlimactic in terms of action, but in terms of your knowledge of. Okay, we were like thinking about who is this Snoke character anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because like I knew
Such
from
a
his face,
mystery
because
and
when you first see him, it's like you don't get a good shot of him. Is he alien? And you're like, maybe he's Darth Plagueis. But then you get a look at him, you see he's got human nose, he's just twisted up. It's like, okay, the only thing he could really be, like that would potentially would be like somehow the survived empire, the emperor, somehow in some capacity,
because he had such this admiration.
Yes,
for especially even like Darth Vader.
Yes, and he was all scarred up and torn up as if he'd been through something and he'd healed, right? Yeah. So, but then he's really tall too. So like he basically comes out of nowhere. He's not really well explained. He's not explained at all. And then he's like summarily just killed off. Yeah. It was rather unsatisfying. It was cool, but unsatisfying because. Well, he was built up for what? Like, what is this? Well, even not that there's, and there's not that it means to say that just because someone is like a boss, you know what I mean? They're going to last till the end. That's not what I mean. But I mean, we don't know who that is. But that's the audience.
But that's unfortunately been Star Wars throughout. Boba Fett. You know what I mean? Like,
but
it's always been Star Wars.
He's just a bounty hunter. Like,
but they get
rid of
random
characters. This is a well trained, seeming Sith Lord. Right, like that doesn't just manifest from.
It doesn't manifest, but it does follow like kind of a little bit different than what you were saying. Is it actually does follow the rule of two, where now he's so zealous for power, Kylo Ren, that he actually kills off his master. We've always heard about the rule of two, but we've never seen it manifested in any film. And here, actually, you see it manifested.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
You see it, it's like, and here it's like maybe he wasn't a worthy leader, maybe he wasn't. And Kylo, by no means do I don't think he's a worthy leader, but it truly kind of captures that rule of two, where they're always kind of jealous of each other. They're always looking at, they're always looking behind their backs.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff there. Back to how you were saying that fight between Luke and Rey. Did you notice there was it happened really quick, but well, not Rey, Luke and Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, his foot is leaving a mark on the salt, revealing the red underneath. Yeah. And then there was a specific scene that they showed where Luke's foot moves across and nothing moves. Right then I'm like, shit, is he just that good? Is he just that fleet of foot with the Force, whatever? Yeah. But obviously that comes and takes off when you realize it was an apparition. But
that's cool.
Him passing away, going into the Force. It was a bummer to me too. But if he had to go, I like that way better than the true Obi-Wan of being defeated. It's the same because he goes out and wins.
Yeah, but Obi-Wan wasn't defeated. Obi-Wan willingly. It's the same thing. Obi-Wan willingly gave himself to the Force, and Luke did the same thing.
But it was one was at the hands. One was at the hands of someone.
No, it was
and
not.
It was at the hands of Vader.
No, it was not. It was.
Yes, it was.
He chose to do it.
It was on his terms. It was on his terms completely. He just said, "I abandoned my body." The lightsaber didn't even cut anything.
Yeah, it was more of a win though, because Obi-Wan technically didn't really win that. He just kind of like, okay, I've done enough.
It's like so. This was like I've done enough, and then Luke Skywalker's sitting there. He's like, "Oh, look, the sun."
And I feel like Obi-Wan.
Bye, fans.
And I feel like Obi-Wan was the first when it came to that, because like in A New Hope, when Obi-Wan did it, it was just like, okay, I think I'm ready now. Here we go. Here goes nothing. And he did the swipe, because if you really think about it, like there's no other Jedi before Obi-Wan that like came back and did that hologram, right? That like so, and then it was Yoda, and then it was so. It's like Obi-Wan, like it kind of wasn't on his own terms, because it's just like he still wasn't sure if he reached that level enough that he can transcend himself.
Yeah, because he had seen it first. But going back to that, like with the sun coming up and everything like that, like there's definitely an arc there in the story, because you definitely talk about hope. That's the whole idea. It was like the Leia calls, like, it's like not believing in the sun if you don't have hope, right, or something along those lines. Yeah. So like you have like an that whole arc of him creating the hope and creating, and like even Poe calls it, it's like he's doing this for us to get away, for the spark that the rebellion's going to come.
I understand. Yeah.
Like there's a bigger meaning for it, and it's like, and I guess part of the arc of Star Wars and like these elders is to sacrifice themselves in order to get the new generation going.
But I feel as though there was like a lot of needless self-sacrifice in the film entirely. Like, I mean, like even like some of the carrier ships. You know what I mean? Like each of them is warp capable. Like, how do you not think of like, oh, we're running out, like we're gonna have to like jettison the ship. I'm gonna stay in the ship. Why would you not turn it around?
Those were weird.
It doesn't make
because there should be autopilot.
Okay, yeah, like why do I? So look, they stay in the ship. Okay, they should, like at that level of technology, you should be able to turn it around and point it and like and go in an escape pod after. But either way, if you're gonna stay on the ship and go down with the ship, why would you not just go into light speed and hit it at, like they did at the end? Well, and we were talking about the whole time. Like,
this is a suicide bomb.
Like thinking about it now, right? So they had like one last ace up their hole, which is turn the ship around and go light speed. Now, if they continually did that with the smaller ship, they would have adapted to that, and then they would have used their TIE fighters. Yeah. The whole reason why they brought the TIE fighters back is because they weren't the main ship wasn't able to protect them. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So then they would have just flown them out and they would have shot it, and they never have that ace in the hole in case they had to escape.
And earlier in a lot of the Star Wars, like
I don't know that like their TIE fighters weren't effective against the larger ships anyway.
But they would have picked apart the smaller ships and it would have been useless anyway.
Exactly. Right? And the smaller ships is what they were getting away on. The whole thing is, it's like everybody expects them to be on the large ship, and you have to have a life force on the ship, because that's one thing that they're always, in earlier Star Wars, they always scan for life force. They have certain scanners that can tell if there's a life force on a ship or on a planet. Yeah. So like if you don't have someone going down with the ship, then it's not a decoy.
What I'm saying is an empty ship. But that either way, there's someone on the ship. They're going down with the ship. They might as well look. All that is just meaningless in the end, because they did take out the main ship with
their ace in the hole.
With an ace in the hole.
But they could have done it at any time.
No, they could have done it
at any time and not had as many casualties. But they could have taken out Snoke's major ship at like warp, turn it away, go into light speed, boom, hit it.
But they had to reach that planet, right?
Yep.
So there was a.
So they would have done it.
There was a no.
Sure,
they might not have.
Strategically, it wouldn't have worked earlier.
This conversation bores me, to be honest. Not to be like a prick, but like I love hardcore sci-fi and certain things with their logic, but after 40 years of watching Star Trek or Star Wars, the tech and what they have is kind of wonky. It's not like Star Trek type stuff built in science. It's a rough and tumble world. There's weird things that don't make sense. Getting bogged down in that, like there's no winning.
I just don't think the self-sacrifice I don't think is necessary. It was just an odd story. It was just an odd part of the Rising action. That's all.
What interests me more, though, as far as really able to drive into rules and things like that, is these new Force powers. Because the one thing we're overlooking is when Luke is up there and he did that.
Don't forget about Leia.
Talk about Leia. But we're gonna get to biggest surprises and stuff like that after. But to Luke's death, for him to pull that off after not using the Force for like a decade, because he, Ray specifically says he
turned himself off the Force. Yeah.
To do that has to be the most exhausting thing you could possibly, like every midichlorian in his body is just overloaded. Yeah. Like he might have just had nothing left.
Well, that's the thing. That's what he shows in the end.
It can't be just an easy thing.
It shows the tiredness on his body, and and the fact is, like, it's funny because now you look back and like when you see him walk out, like where did he get his haircut? Where did he get his
his brown hair?
He projected himself as the most powerful Luke, or him at his prime, because unlike his prime came when he was teaching Kylo Ren. And if you looked at the flashbacks in the thing, that's where he showed himself at that point in time.
That's how he looked like. And
that's him at the most powerful Luke.
Very cool. Yeah. All right, let's go to your biggest negative.
I think the casino city or whatever.
Canto Bight.
Yeah, it's just like I get it because it really showed, you know, Rose as like this, you know, feeling like compassionate person. But you know, the whole like, oh, find the guy with the flower,
plume,
and then it's like you go with Benicio, like that motherfucker. You when you see him, it's not like, oh, I trust this dude. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, you stick to the mission.
Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah, it had a little bit of a video game thing to it. It's like we get on board, and then it even has the tutorial diagram. Right. Yeah. Which is actually in A New Hope though. There's something like that in A New Hope, but rewatch it. Yeah, there's part of the Death Star where C-3PO shows screens.
Yeah.
Here. So that's already there, so you can't hit on that. But yeah, it was. Look, it fulfilled the story arc of Finn having to not just be having to make a choice. Am I with this movement, or am I for myself and for
a purpose?
Right. Because remember, this takes place. I gotta feel like within maybe a day or two of the end of Force Awakens, because there's no way he's in that pod for a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
so it's very
at least maybe even if it's more than that, it's not like.
So he's still new to all this shit. Like he's literally. You know, he just met all these people
still a janitor
a while ago, right? Yeah,
kicking ass and taking names.
He's a fully trained stormtrooper.
Yeah, he's trained to sweep.
I agree with you with that scene. It was thrown in some wonky CGI here.
And I thought there were like a bunch of
great moments.
There was a lot of cinematic elements, like those. The animals that they were riding were really cool. There are a lot of throughout the whole movie. There are a lot of beautiful cinematic elements, but I just felt there were a lot of contrived elements in the movie too. Just little plot convenient elements, like when Rey just all of a sudden starts attacking Luke. It's like, okay, you'd be upset with him. I don't know if you'd like just start attack. I don't know. It was just so plot convenient, just for like a dramatic moment. I don't know. There were some like instances in this film that were a bit like that.
The biggest one that bothered me, and I think I kind of set myself up for failure. I was really invested in learning how Kylo Ren was able to destroy Luke's new Jedi school.
Yeah,
and I was very disappointed with the outcome and the reasoning.
And what happened to the Knights of Ren? Who are the Knights of Ren?
Yeah, you're really seeing now how J.J. Abrams came in with a writer's room, put some pieces on the board, and then Rian Johnson kind of came in and like, I don't want to play with that. I don't want to play with that. I don't want to play with that.
Yeah,
kill him, kill her, kill this guy. I'm going to tell this story, right?
Yeah.
Which is good because I prefer those decisions. And I'm going to make a sports analogy because we're meatheads, right? But if you guys have ever been on a team, and we've been on this team too, there are certain coaches and decision makers and players, and business is like this as well in my experience. Some people have the balls to play to win and the strength to actually play to win and do something, make a choice to help them win the game, whereas others are so afraid to lose that they are just stricken, they don't take a chance, they take the safe way all the time, they don't make a decision. The filmmakers behind this definitely were playing to win. They're like, we're going to make something different. I'm making this choice. A lot of people aren't going to like it,
or you're going to hate it.
Yeah, but at least we're going for something different, something that'll stick in people's brains. And I will always respect the people that make decisions at work, on their team, or something in order to win, rather than the people that never even swing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that'll still say that.
It always depends on what decision you make, right? So
true, but at least they went after it.
Yeah, but like
rather than backing up.
As a fan, for example, let's just say like, and this is nothing like not a lengthy conversation. Wouldn't you have preferred to see Luke Skywalker in the next film?
Yes, but I'm glad they didn't do it, and we still might. Well, we still might because now he takes on a new role.
Yeah,
I think it's all this whole movie is about. And I didn't expect this at all, which to give you something that you didn't expect after 8 films and all the stuff that we've taken in, to still be surprised and enjoy it, you got to go to the theater to see it no matter what. Yeah. I think that serves us too much, of him coming in, storming a ship, taking everybody out, force choking everybody, whatever. I think that is the easy way because we've done it, we've seen it, it's great. I'm going to have a good time, I'm going to cheer, all right. To see him outsmart him, ascend, and see an end to his story, it's satisfying in a totally different way that I didn't think I wanted to see. Right?
Well, that's exactly. You didn't know you were going to see it.
Yeah. And I get that,
but it felt right.
And I get that, and that element of transcendence, like like when a Zen monk finally achieves enlightenment. That was that's the way I took it. Like he finally achieves enlightenment, right? It would have just been nice to after all these years to see. And I don't mean storming a bridge in like some kind of Deathstroke.
Well, I was thinking Return of the Jedi where he takes all of Jabba's thing.
I just meant there are just other things that could be done. Right?
I just
with that narrative. Yeah.
I felt like this was just a reset. Now you just don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And for Rey to actually make this new, I don't even know if it's a Jedi Council or Jedi Order. It's like.
Well,
you can't have.
They're barely.
Well, you can't.
She's not even trained. She doesn't know anything.
Exactly. But
she can't train anyone.
But this is the thing. It's like she has the manuals, and I think the manual is just like this blueprint that you work around, and then you just find your own way. And I think that's the whole reason why Luke kind of had to die, so she doesn't have that training. Now she may learn some things from Leia, but I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, but Leia's never been formally trained either. Though.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why it's more like a guidance counselor than
a teacher.
Yeah.
Which I find it's something cool about that, because especially we live in our time, and I do a job, and I know you've been in the same industry. Jobs that when we were in school never fucking existed.
Yeah.
Right. And we went to school in the early 2000s. Went to university. Yeah. There are professions now that never existed before, and there are people that are trying to hold on to the old ways. This is how it does before. Yeah. You're born in this way, that way. Oh well, you're supposed to vote this way. You're supposed to identify with that. Fuck all those rules, man.
Yeah.
So I think this was definitely a statement saying we are not tied down by this. You can literally say, I have no idea where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something really refreshing and cool about that. Whereas you couldn't say that about the prequels.
Yeah. One thing that I'm going to miss, though, is okay, look, one thing that is just beautiful and captivating for a fan to see is, as much as, Phantom Menace was not, the most stellar of the series, to see Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon just go at it. And just to see the skill and just the entertainment of that and the beauty of that.
Yeah.
I miss that. You know what I mean? Like I miss I'm kind of going this path where it's like now you're seeing it's like someone. It's always someone who's not really trained. One person with a lightsaber. Like I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing the whole time. When do I get to see like 2 of them, 3 of them? You know what I mean? Like it would be interesting to see. Like, and even if they're not considered Jedi, it would be nice to see something different.
But but you kind of like prove the point, right? Because the reason why the first 3 movies, well, like the prequels, they were like ninjas and they were like these amazing moves, is because they had like this whole like history, and everybody was trained that way, and and it was like this reset.
They had a curriculum.
After the Jedi Order was like Order 66 and whatever. Nobody really knew how to train.
It was the Dark Ages.
Right?
I understand that.
So it's like, so now it's like this reset again, and now she actually has the manuals. And even when she was practicing with her staff, Luke was like, oh my God, that's impressive. Like, he had that impressive look. So who knows, she's going to build her own Kung Fu.
I understand. What I'm saying is that, like, it's this ideology of The Last Jedi is old. It's done. That was already being done in the past. Like as a fan, I'm tired of The Last Jedi. I'm tired of like there's only one. This is our last hope. This is the prophecy or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm tired of that that lame, tired story arc that repeats itself in so many films.
But at the end of the
movie, that's what I'm saying. I would like a transition.
Yeah, but at the end of the movie, that kid from that casino planet. He like drew the
and that was amazing.
And like he's holding that broom like a lightsaber. And it's like it's slowly becoming like there's gonna be more Jedi.
We'll see. Maybe they just next movie they kill Rey and then this is the
beautiful thing about Disney. It's like it's not like George Lucas is like, I'm not gonna make another film. It's like years from now. There could be a whole...
Even concurrently, because I agree with you. There is something enjoyable about seeing, these orders at their apex. I think the benefit and what gave them the ability in order to make these decisions and go this way with like the episodic ones is that we're going to get a Star Wars TV show. Maybe even there's 2. And they're always doing other movies in between. So the possibility of a Knights of the Old Republic series or movie at the same point.
See, that would be good to satisfy a certain fan base, because honestly, even
or a sect of the fan base.
Yeah, a sect of the fan. Well, no,
because this is bigger than it. This now, just like how comics that we have to accept is, it's bigger than when we were kids in the 80s and 90s. It's bigger than us.
Yeah, but anyone who's a Star Wars fan is going to enjoy some kind of lightsaber.
You assume that, but they'll like lightsaber. Well, lightsabers are cool no matter what, but there are people that legitimately do not enjoy the heavily choreographed execution
it's a different
of Anakin.
Of course, and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be that. That's not what I'm suggesting. It doesn't have to be at a certain level of skill. I'm just saying it would be a nice differentiation than just someone being trained all the time who doesn't know what they're doing. That is a lame story arc. What I'm saying is, even if it's someone who's like taught from the manuals, whatever it is, just give me a change. Give like the fan base a bit of a change, so it's not the same. You're riding that same last hope theme
in these episodes.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Luke Skywalker was the same way. Like Luke Skywalker is the same thing throughout, and this is the same thing. That's a lot of films that.
No, but you're talking about you're not going by the order that they came out. You're talking about some that came out in the 70s and 80s. No, but you're talking about the 70s and early 80s, and then they went the completely opposite way with the prequels, and now they're coming back. So this is part of an arc.
Right, but what I'm saying
I disagree. But I disagree with what you're saying.
But it's the same thing. It's Luke Skywalker is the last, and a new.
Yes, but
and that was the arc.
Else in between, though.
Right, but we're going back to the same thing.
Yeah, of course, and then you'll go back to something else afterwards. It's an arc.
That's all I'm saying is that it would be nice to have a different.
You wanted the movie in between these last 30 years.
Yeah,
but where he actually builds it up, because they went on missions.
Something a bit, just a different story arc would have been nice. And I see what you're saying. I get it. I'm just what I am suggesting is that they've gone back to the original story.
Yeah, they have. Right. 100%.
That's what I'm saying. It would be nice as a fan to see something different, as a different idea. That's
what handcuffed them though had to be just the real life age and time passing of the physical actors, right? Yeah. So that in order to fill in that gap of him starting the Order, going on this mission, going on that mission, it has been 30 years for all of them now. Yeah. It's a little. They got to deal with what they have, and there's all these younger kids that they need to get on board and start something new. Yeah. But the fact is that we care. We at least care enough to talk about it because, look, how many times have we talked about Justice League? Yeah. The night of, and then we're like, all right, well, see you at Star Wars. And the point is that as long as you care, then they did do things right, regardless if you.
Well, and the fact is, like, and it was a silly thing, but what they were actually had surveys at this thing. Yeah. So like they actually cared. Like there was people who were handing out surveys at our local theater. So like they care about input and they care about what you have to say as a fan and all that. So like it's not. It doesn't stop there. Like okay, like that arc we were talking about, they might bring that into one of the non-episodic films. And the fact that like Dan was saying that we're talking about this and nobody ever stops talking about Star Wars. Like, man, it's 40 years since this came out, and we're still talking about it.
Mario, your biggest negative that stands out from the film?
Biggest negative, there was a couple of things, like, it's funny, like, you were talking earlier, Sean, about how the space battles and how, and I kind of get there is some of the cartoon feel to them, but I thought the pacing was a little bit off right at the beginning, and this is just a cinematic thing for me. And it's like actually Dan and I we've been really I've been looking and I shared with Dan a lot about how editing made the original Star Wars what it was. And I thought that there was a little, especially at the beginning, the editing was a little wonky in this one. Like they were kind of going all over the place. I thought the crawl was a little bit long. And then once they got into it, and once we got to Luke and everything, then I was in and I was invested. But at the beginning, I was kind of looking around, and there was a lot being bombarded at you that I felt they could have cleaned up a little bit.
Let me just explain why I feel like I compare it to Rebels. Like in the movies, in the older movies, basically the plan is like, okay, we gotta go through these turrets, and then we gotta shoot. Like we gotta fire photon torpedo. It's like that was the one
trench run.
Yeah, but it was like it was like kind of intricate. You know what I mean? Poe came in. He took, you know, he set up the distraction. He took down the turrets, and then the bombers were supposed to come in. And you know, then it was like, no, we're not going to do the bomb. And it's like that decision making on the fly. Yeah, okay. And I think that's a lot of what they do in Rebels. You know what I mean? That's cool.
It was definitely good. Like he just felt like, again, and this is just right at the beginning, like, and it's one of those things, like, in, you know, Josh talked about it a lot in this as well. It's like it's hard to get over something at first, you know what I mean? Like, when they change something, like, to me, the fact that the Alliance and the Republic fell so quickly, you know, like, bothers me, right?
Well, that was kind of the Force Awakens thing.
You know
all those planets were destroyed.
All these planets were destroyed, and like they started in Force Awakens, and now like the Republic's completely decimated, and it's just like all the work that happened in Episode 4, 5, and 6, you know, like and all the yum yum at the end of
Yum Nub.
That's obviously one of my favorite tunes.
Like,
I'll jump to that any day.
It's a very uplifting.
Yeah,
it is a very uplifting song, but that's all gone for naught.
Yeah. The Ewoks.
Yeah, the Ewoks, exactly. But it was just the fact that it all went for naught, and that like the Empire was able to regain power so quickly
easily,
and so easily, and just overthrow this Republic.
Especially after that many Death Star losses.
You know what I mean? Like,
economically on that alone.
Economically, that's a lot. Like, where I want to know what type of I want to know what type of business these guys are running, because they've got some economic geniuses.
I mean, they have a lot of that is something that I think, and this is kind of what we live in. And the Star Wars original ones that Lucas did kind of did this too. Very, like, you know, Moff Tarkin walks in. You know, the Senate has been eradicated by the Empire.
Yeah,
we never saw any of that, right? So they kept that. They fill it in with video games. They might even do a series to fill in the rest. So you did have a 30-year period where the Empire was not fully defeated. They still had control in certain parts of the galaxy, but that 30-year period...
That was the General Thrawn.
Jedi to wherever
General Thrawn period.
Yeah. So you do have a part where there was, okay, now we're fighting back, right? So, you know, there was kind of... Luke even says in this movie, there was balance, right?
Yeah.
Where you had the Republic, everyone else. This one, now, the Empire is...
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you don't get to see it as a movie watcher, though, because they did have a brilliant section that you are talking about, the whole General Thrawn trilogy. That whole thing, it captures so much of it, which is beautiful, and it's unfortunate you don't get to see it.
And you're right, though. Like,
they may at some point.
And like I said, I got over it and enjoyed the movie, but it's one of those, like, it's kind of one of those, like, little knives in the side. It's like, as a fan, I just, like, it does almost become a trope to me, where you've got them, like, they're always the underdog. The Jedis and they're always the underdog and always fighting.
You just want a little change up.
That's it, right? And that's where I got out of it.
And I agree with you in terms of, like, the whole bombing scene. It was like again, that was when I said some of the scenes are a bit contrived. It was a bit contrived when all the bombers are over. One of them blows up, and then, like,
shrapnel
hits every single one of them except for one, and then she's trying to hit the one guy's dead on the top, and then she's got to climb up and hit and the thing drops, and then she's kicking it, and it's like this moment of suspense, and they're like, 5 minutes ago, they were like, we're on the sweet spot. And then it's like 5 minutes later, they're still on it. And then she finally gets it. I'm just saying it's a bit contrived.
And can I just say, who built these freaking bombers? Terrible idea. They're so, like, oh my God, they're
blind engineer.
One shot blows them up.
How slow are those bombers? How slow?
Give me a good old Y-wing.
Oh my God.
When you end up
backpedal faster than that.
When you end up killing the engineer's family like they did in fucking Rogue One. What do you expect? Man. Of course, all of them, they've got a little fucking,
Somebody's like, I got a plan. Okay. Lord Vader wants me to...
I got to design for the slowest thing in space. You guys want to see this design?
I found that funny, too.
Princess Leia's going to kick my ass. I got to think of something. All right.
Biggest thing that surprised you, it could either be in a positive way, negative way. You walked in that you didn't think they'd do.
Okay, honestly... Okay, the thing that shocked me the most is because Carrie Fisher did actually pass. I thought they were just going to honor her legacy by, you know, CGIing her here and there a little bit, and then she would be out in that initial scene when it said,
you know, the blow up. I thought she was gone.
100%. I thought that was going to be it. Dumbfounded when at the end of the film she is alive. and Luke Skywalker is dead. That is what
Luke's dead.
There it is.
But the fact that Princess Leia was still alive, that threw me for an entire loop because the actress is no longer with us.
Yeah.
You know, rest in peace.
It'll be interesting.
Mind-boggling.
To see.
What?
Yeah.
How? What?
Yeah. I literally have no idea how they're going to handle
And they built
that.
her character up so much more. She started flying around like a Jedi angel in space. And first of all, do you know how much training it takes to be able to do that? Like, there's a thing called Jedi meditation. Jedi meditation is a state that they can put themselves in, like a survival state that they can put themselves in to survive the cold temperatures of space. Usually within a ship that's dead, but not out in space. But her eyes opened.
So, it was,
you know what I mean?
Like in Clone Wars, they used it when the mines, the Kyber crystal mines, crashed down, and they were in meditation, holding the rocks while waiting for Yoda.
Oh, I never saw that. But so that's But the thing is, the fact that she's that strong with the Force that number one, she survived unconscious. She was able to, because you can go unconscious and still keep the meditation. Yeah. But she opened her eyes in space and then did some kind of crouching tiger, hidden dragon flight.
She did kind of wire.
What the wire was? I was just like,
you are weightless in space, though. So.
I know that, but she was just like eyes open.
I know.
Flying like, through minus whatever space is
the pressure
300 without any sort of propulsion and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So the whole basically Princess Leia's arc threw me for a complete loop.
For the better or negative? Because I really liked it.
You know what? It was just shocking. I think it was probably, I guess it was for the better. It's interesting. I just don't know where, I feel as though it's going to be a crappy, like, answer in the next one where it's like, well, she's no longer with us, so we're just going to have some cheesy, like, they're going to Snoke her. Like, after all this build-up, they're just going to take her out. Or after the build-up, Luke Skywalker, just take her out. Figured, kill Luke Skywalker, gotta go again.
You know,
biggest surprise.
You know what it felt like? It felt like when Mick dies in Rocky, and then Rocky goes over to Apollo, and Apollo teaches him. And I feel like Princess Leia is kind of the Apollo.
Yeah.
What surprised me was like the love little triangle they have with Rose, and then you have Finn, who's been working so hard moving mountains trying to get to Rey, and then here comes Poe. Hi, I'm Poe. Oh, hi, Poe. And it's out the window. I don't know.
That's funny.
I didn't have too many problems with it.
Well, I'm not saying from
no, it's just shocking.
It was shocking.
I 100% could not believe that they killed Snoke.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be, and I think J.J. Abrams, when he introduced him, I think J.J. Abrams had this idea of what he links back to and his backstory, whatever. And Rian Johnson's like, this guy served his purpose.
Yeah.
This is Kylo Ren's story.
Yeah.
We're killing him. I couldn't believe that they killed him. And like you, I was like, okay, is he going to come back? Like maybe he ascends to something. Is he not really dead? He's so powerful, whatever. And then the legs just slip off. I was so surprised.
If he is Plagueis, he'll come back. Like we don't know, right? But it's a very.
It was a very undignified death. I don't think to bring him back. I think it was just to show that he's really dead.
Yeah,
like they slopped his rotting, drooling carcass.
Yeah,
and they showed a close up of his face, like half an hour later, and he's just still like lying there.
Yeah, the story's not about him.
It's not about
the story is about. And it was so good because I'm just like, all right, here's a take. Here's a creative decision being made of what this is going to be about. This is about that kid who's a slave.
Yeah.
And he's heard the legends.
Yeah.
And I got this power. Yeah. Right? It's not about bloodline or order or whatever. And I was just like, what a surprising way of where to take this.
And I don't mind Snoke being killed off. It would have been nice to understand something about who he was. It would just know something.
That makes it. But it's odd though. It's like I kind of thought that like the trailers. One thing I did like about this is. You and I are always like we do these trailer reactions because of our fans and like because you and I rather not watch the trailers and go in fresh. The thing is they really deceptively marketed these trailers deceptively marketed this movie. You know what I mean? They made you go in thinking, what's going on? I got this. I know what's going on. And then all these fan theories and like they fed them. they really fed these fan theories. Like a lot of these, like the panels and all this stuff.
Ray's parents.
Yeah, they really fed these, and it's like, oh, and you and they would actually listen. I love the fact that these guys actually listen to their fans, and they address them for better or worse, whatever you want to call it. The fact that they were listening to these fan theories, and they were talking about these fan theories, and so like it acknowledges you as a fan, and it acknowledges that, but then they're like. At the end of it.
And I thought we were speaking of the parents. I thought they were going to get like at least like some kind of modicum of confirmation that Rey is Luke's daughter.
Yeah.
But we got nothing. Yeah. And then we're just like, I'm going to see her. That scene, by the way, in the dark pit, when I thought was going to be her dark side trial, that was pretty cheesy. I got to say, it was weird. It didn't.
Her face.
It was very Doctor Strange. It was very Doctor Strange.
It didn't. Yeah, it was more like. It was very.
Different.
It didn't really fit the Star Wars lore. I don't think. It was very odd. It wasn't. Anyhow, I thought they were going to reveal the parents, and we see her own reflection. I'm like, what is? And we still don't find out, right? So it's interesting that they still kept that hidden.
It's an interesting time in how you brought it up, where we're living in a time where there's so much access to information that filmmakers and creatives behind this, they can easily be conscious of where the fan base is at. Whereas before, you had to rely on trade publications, you had to rely on face-to-face interaction. There wasn't the multitude of ratings, fan videos, forums, and all that. So they're able to, in this film now, and it'll be this way for any genre film that has such a rabid fan base, it's going to be a combination of what's better for profits, what's better for the fans' mindset of where they're at. Because there is a lot, like all this stuff with Snoke and everything, they're going to have comics, they're going to have novels,
TV show.
They're going to fill in the little cracks of everything else. Like I think apparently Phasma has a really
faults.
But they're doing that on purpose for the movies to not fill in everything. If you want to know the whole story, you got to buy all this other media. So there is a financial, a major financial interest in determining what's kept on screen. And I think we just gotta accept that.
But what affects it though is we've used this example before, the Matrix, when you have like a kind of an untimely or undignified end to a character, it takes away the value and interest of that character. The Matrix, when the first Matrix came out, we were just like, this is mind blowing, and then they started to mess up little by little in the films until the third one you're like.
This side of the room, that's another video for another time. This side of the room.
But you know what I'm saying?
I see what you mean.
It takes away, like when you know the ultimate end of someone, how it ends up. It's just like it ends up. Okay, so this is, they can do that in the real world, or like there's some ending that takes away from the lead up, right? So if you're trying to build Snoke up if we're talking about Snoke in this particular instance, let's say, right?
Because that was the thing that surprised me the most.
You know what I mean? And there's like the lore. You want to like explore lore that leads up to Snoke when you know that he's just going to get cheaply disemboweled and whatever. You're like, meh.
I don't think they knew that though. When J.J. Abrams brought that up, I think he had a plan, and now you had a different.
No, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, like, if you're going to explore that lore now, then you know what I'm saying. Like, when you're thinking in your head, you know, what does it matter? This guy's nothing. He just gets poked by.
The only thing I can say is. The only thing the only thing that I disagree with that fact, because, and I brought him up before and I'll bring him up again, is Boba Fett. That did not take away from all his extra, like, people were still interested. The guy fell into the Charlotte pit and that was it, or whatever.
No, because in the lore he comes back.
Well, that's the point. In the lore, what's going to happen with Snoke? That's the point. It's like,
hologram.
You're looking at the overall picture of Boba Fett, but at the time, like, put us back into 1980 and 1983, where Boba Fett just dies. It's like, what the hell? And all these people loved him, and it actually was because they loved him, and that growth. Of love.
I'll double down on your point. I'll double down on his point to back him up. Of all the faults of the prequels was the fact that knowing that Darth Vader dies at the end of Return of the Jedi, spoilers, did that impede your enjoyment of the prequels?
No, but I'll tell you why. Because the analogy is not really the same, because in both circumstances you get a lot more history of that character, and you get a lot more to identify with that character. That character becomes something that you are really curious about because there is character development. In Snoke, we got a big face that
and
ordered a
nothing,
couple
yeah.
people,
I'll
and
give
then
you
nothing.
that.
No,
I'll give you that.
not in Boba Fett's case, because
Boba Fett was there through 3 series.
No,
doing
it was
really
only there
interesting
for
stuff.
2
only there for
movies.
2.
Okay,
and at the, I'm talking about at the time. Like, you're looking at it in retrospect from now. Yeah, there's a ton of Boba Fett stuff now, but at the time, like, transport back to 1980 and 1983 when he dies and he just gets thrown in, none of that was true. We had no idea, and we didn't have TV series. We didn't have anything, and people still loved him enough. You know, that they bought his action figures, they bought and they consumed anything that came out on Boba Fett.
Yeah,
and they were
Wars
talking
was,
about him that so much that lore all became true after the fact. So that could still happen.
So you wouldn't watch a 6-episode Snoke series?
That's exactly. That's
wouldn't watch it?
I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it. I'm just saying it. Just all I'm saying is it takes away from the allure. That's it. Like you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Like if you're I wouldn't read a novel on it, but maybe I'd watch an episode on it. You know what I'm saying?
Cool. Like,
Positives and negatives aside, it's something you have to go to theater to watch. I like the vast majority of it. I'm excited for where we go, and I have absolutely no idea how this trilogy ends up. I'm thinking, how do they handle General Leia? How do they handle this? There's literally everyone of the Resistance. It's not even the rebellion anymore. It's just the Resistance. This ragtag group that all fit on the Millennium Falcon. So maybe there's some people in the Outer Rim, but no one came when they called to help. I have no idea how they get out of this. I have no idea, and really interested to see, Kylo Ren, this trigger happy, hot headed, cutter. Like, he's definitely a cutter. Like, he's in charge now. Like, he's gonna make some seriously bad mistakes, trying to hunt them down all over the place. When we went into Revenge of the Sith, I had an idea of what needed to happen. I knew, Anakin had to be deformed somehow in a fight with Obi-Wan, and I knew where everything would fall into place, and it was just a matter of it falling into place. Return of the Jedi. I was so young watching it, and I would watch them all in order because I had them all on one VHS tape, so I don't really know I was conscious of what is next. Because I guarantee you, the first time I saw this, it was probably on one VHS tape, and I watched it all the way through, so there probably wasn't this point. Do you guys have any hopes or any idea, and jump in whoever thinks, what happens in episode 9? Any idea?
I think it's gonna, since we're resetting, they have to, build back the rebellion, right? So they're gonna need ships, they're gonna need soldiers, they're gonna need, and also I think Rey may be, trying to find some force sensitive people to train.
So you think there'll be a long break in between? Because that means that there's a long break in between.
I don't even think there's gonna be a long break. I think she's just gonna start flying around looking for some force sensitive people, because they don't have to be children. They could be adults, right? Like Kyle Katarn, he was a smuggler, and then he turned into a Jedi, right? In the video games. So who knows, right? It's like, here, this is all I know. You know what I mean? Here's how to use a weapon, a lightsaber, and just send people out.
I would love that, man. I honestly don't have enough faith that they want to differentiate the storyline that much. Like that would be really cool, because I said it would be different from like the initial ones, and then the prequels. I think that would be really interesting. It just seems that they're on this one kind of Jedi, not even a Jedi, just like a Force user focused track. But that would be amazing to explore like different planets, like natural Force users, like the
Broom Kid,
the Broom Kid, or the Witches of Dathomir, you know what I mean? Like where there are natural Force users who it's part of their culture. They don't know that they're not Jedi or anything like that, but it's it would be interesting to explore that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be more self-exploration of Rey and her having abilities that aren't like unjustified because she's not self-trained or trained in any way. She's just doing it raw, and that's not going to be particularly feasible. That's my concern. But we'll see where it goes, because they are throwing a bunch of twists. Probably someone who's gonna die who I don't want to. That's what I was. Given how it's been going.
I'm thinking the same way. I mean, I think episodes 7 and 8 now take place literally. It feels like within a week. Like it feels like 7 days. Like it goes very fast. I don't see a lot of years in between. I don't see them being able to have any sort of structure. There's probably just another base that they're at. I don't see this as any sort of ending of now we have the power, we've eliminated all of them. I think it's a much smaller story. For vast as this galaxy is, I think we're watching the story of just some abandoned individuals.
Yeah, I think
right.
it's very,
Kylo Ren, powerful abandoned, all the of people with all the potential in the world, and they're not able to meet their mastery potential, and they're just on a collision course of lonely people that have just been dealt a lot of power, but a lot of shitty stuff by life, by the situation of the galaxy. Like, we were watching Rey and Kylo's story, and they're both essentially abandoned people. Luke didn't want him in the, or at least for a moment, thought he's got to get out of here. Luke essentially creates Kylo Ren. Rey's parents didn't want Rey's parents, so it's not about bloodlines or you know, mastery of orders of structure. It's really just more about like chaos, personal stories for these people finding their way, and I think we'll get a conclusion to them. But the overarching thing, and money-wise, they're going to make these for a ton.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you're going to see a conclusion to their story, and you don't need army versus army for that. And so I think you're going to see a smaller scale.
And hopefully in doing that, you don't lose something that is quintessentially Star Wars. That, you know what I mean? In that thrust. Yeah. Mariuszki.
What would you like to see?
It's so tough. Like you're talking about, like you've got those two that the story is completely about those two. And it's and like I was just talking about, you know, antagonist versus protagonist, where they're kind of friends and they're doing that. It's like the aspect of them being almost. People always talk about, you know, like certain things like love and hate, for example. They're not opposites. They're the same thing. They're on just different sides of the spectrum. Like the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is apathy. And, you know, like, so it's that I don't see either of them as opposites. You know, like, they're not light and dark side of the force. They both dabble in both. And the fact that they want to, that they're coming, they're contrasting.
Rey dabbles in...
Yeah, because Rey, she goes into that dark, and even Luke says that she
obviously didn't fear it. She wasn't afraid of it.
She would go into it with and haphazardly go into it where she didn't fear it. She didn't stop herself, and she didn't even think twice about it. She just went into it.
Helps that she doesn't even know what it is.
Well, that's the point. But that's the point.
I don't know, something called me, I answered.
Exactly, but that's the point, is that you've got something where these are untrained people dabbling with the power, and both sides, because I don't think Kylo was properly taught either.
He had two masters.
He had two masters, but
good ones.
Well, we don't know what play is, or
some people are just damaged, man.
Yeah,
he's just a damaged.
He's just a damaged individual.
Yeah,
so
but he did have good masters.
He had good masters.
He just wasn't a good student.
Yeah. He wasn't a good student, though.
Yeah.
But like that's what I was trying to get at. So it's a very to see where they're gonna go. It's definitely between them, and what I want to see is them. I just want to see more of it. I don't know what it is. I just want to see more.
That's the exciting thing. Like, I'm good sitting here knowing that I got something I didn't expect that I have to think on. It closes certain things and just blows open way more.
So much
and
more.
I have no idea what we're walking into, and I like that. In a state of movie going where there's so much cookie cutter copying what's popular. Not that it's not without the contrivedness, but at least the main story arc of not knowing where this goes is. Get you to the theater again.
Yeah.
It's going to get me there. So, all right, guys. We talked for over an hour. We're sweating. We're hungry. We got to eat. Yeah. Chime in the comments. I know you're going to have a ton of stuff to say about everything we said. Probably more so what Josh said. Light it up.
Flash is too funny.
Light it up.
Jokey.
Can't wait to see all that.
Jokey.
Don't forget to subscribe. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Follow us on Twitter at the Hero Lair. We'll hang out with you again real soon. May the Force be with you.
Luke! Luke! No! Why?